It's the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast, where we talk about all things consensual non-monogamy, polyamory, open relationships, swinging, and how you can have secure and sexy relationships, no matter how you do them. Now here's your hosts, Tara and Andre.
Hey, Andre.
Hi, Tara. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast, the random impromptu episode.
Yeah, a little casual car conversation.
Car conversation. Okay, so we were just chatting and thought we might do a little recording as we went because a situation has arisen.
Yep, as it does on time to time.
It does, and so we thought we would just kind of have our conversation.
Sorry, the situation we're talking about is the question of an STI came up in our little community. So before we even start that, though, I want to say that can we look at STIs, sexually transmitted infections, or as they used to be known, disease or venereal disease, can we look at these things in a non-judgmental, non-moral way? In other words, if we were at a party, any other function, and somebody got a cold or we had a flu, would we attach any kind of embarrassment, shame, or anything else to it, right? But with an STI, unfortunately, historically, very often people feel embarrassed by it and it's shamed. We might even think of it as being, oh, this person's clean and this person's dirty, words like that, right? So if we could just look at it as it is much like other viruses that are communicable and we contract them, but we would never assign any kind of morality to a flu or any other cold, right? So maybe we keep that in mind also. But in this
And that these things can be treated.
Oh, of course. Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the thing, right? We're not going to just shy away from it and then have to kind of like go off in a corner by ourselves having this thing. There are treatments available. We'll talk about that as well. But in this also, I want to talk about how we're able, or what's it like emotionally to talk about these things. And then what is the science behind it? What's the math? Because there are certain things that we have to know about, like when do we get tested and how valid are these and what is like a snapshot in this testing?
Okay. So the situation that rose was probably at least a month and a half ago. We were at a party and we played with a bunch of people who are, known people who, as we understand it, get regularly tested. And then about 10 days ago, one of those people reached out to us because they got their regular testing and they found out that both they and their partner who were at the party had contracted gonorrhea. The female presenting person positive via urine and the male by throat. And so they both had it. And so they were informed by their doctor to let their partners know, which they did. And, Andre, I was feeling really good about it, to be informed.
Yeah.
And so we had actually, just because of timing, had gotten tested a couple of days after the party, which I think if you go to the math situation, I don't think that that's enough. Well, you were saying something like you thought it was 10 days?
Yeah, I had read some literature that said that it was about 10 days after your contact, right? So if you were to be tested within those 10 days, you might actually come up with a false negative.
Right.
So we want to have enough kind of incubation time for whatever you might have contracted to be present in your body. So if you test too soon, it might not show up and be valid or accurate that way.
Yeah. So that's kind of the background to it. So maybe we should just continue the conversation we were having.
Well, I want to say something to that.
Okay, sure.
Right. So we advocate for using condoms. I've had a vasectomy, so we don't do it for reasons of pregnancy, but we do it because it does help to reduce the spread of STIs. That being said, however, you can contract certain STIs, like gonorrhea in this case. Sorry, we're driving. So anyway, you can contract certain things, not only penetration, vaginal or anal, but you can also contract some of these things by kissing.
As simple as kissing.
As simple as kissing. So while we might use condoms for penetrative sex, we don't often use condoms for oral sex, and we never use condoms for kissing. We just don't. And I don't know if anybody's ever used a condom for kissing. People might use the dental dam for some oral sex, but it's unlikely we're going to use it for kissing. So that means, how do we protect ourselves? Well, we do that by regular testing. And it's the only way, because it's a kind of report card where we get a snapshot. But as soon as I introduce any other new variable, that snapshot that was taken on the first is no longer valid. It has to be from the last time that you've introduced a new potential, new variable.
Yeah, so it's a point in time
Right.
test.
Right.
And, that's kind of the situation we're debating. And, I think I don't know if we already said it, but our regular protocol for us is every 3 months tested, or if there's been some sort of additional activity, like going to a party or something like that. And normally I think after a party, we would wait that 10 days, but this time we didn't, just because we happened to be near where our doctor's office is, and we prefer to get our tests done through our family doctor because she knows of our history, she knows of our lifestyle, and it's pretty easy to get it done. They have all the testing stuff in the office. And, every time we go in, like you always joke, if you scrape your knee, she's going to say, oh, would you like to get tested today? So that's kind of our protocol.
Yeah,
So.
we're lucky. We have a very comfortable rapport with her. Unfortunately, though, it's not the case for everybody. There are some people who are, for whatever reasons, not so comfortable letting their doctors know. And that's unfortunate, but they have their own considerations, and maybe they don't want other people. They imagine that maybe other people are going to find out, or they're not wanting to know for whatever reasons. But we really think it's critically important that you find a doctor that you feel comfortable with, and you talk about testing or your sexual practice in a very matter-of-fact kind of way. And if you should come across a healthcare provider who is not giving you that kind of neutrality or making you feel comfortable, then maybe you should consider looking for somebody who would make you feel more comfortable, right?
Okay, so Andre, where we left off in our conversation before we decided to record and do our public service announcement was our friends invited us to bring another couple that we know to play. And so of those two couples, the one couple was exposed to the other couple at the party that we were talking about. And so they did get tested after that. So from that situation, they're probably okay.
From that situation. But then after that situation, they went and they did another big lifestyle event.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're wondering, well, how does that affect the potential of our getting together with them again? Because scientifically, they should be retested. And well, first they should wait for that window to make sure that they might be in that good testing period. And then they'd have to get tested and for the results.
Yeah, well, I think they should do whatever's comfortable for them. But in terms of my comfort, I'm feeling really uncomfortable that even if they got tested, it's still not the 10 days. And I'm not sure that I want to play with them given that situation. To me, it feels a bit risky. And now, I mean, we've never had an issue before, but I feel like things go in waves, and it seems like gonorrhea spreading, and it seems it's easily contracted, like you said, by a kissing. So there's that. And then there's the other couple who generally don't do as much activity, but I do know that a while back they did go to a local sex club, and I think they played with people, but I don't know if they've been tested.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm feeling really uncomfortable with this whole situation.
We always advocate for the conversation thing. I just don't feel comfortable giving the timing, and I would like everyone to be retested.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I can say that, but yeah. And then the other couple, I don't know if they've even been tested. So then are we going to say, okay, we feel comfortable with the vanilla party? But then it's like, do we also have to say, okay, there's no kissing, no nothing? It just seems really odd, but also, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten a little more precautious in my, I think when we first started this, we still got tested the same regularity, but I think we weren't as concerned about certain things.
Or as aware, yeah.
Or as aware.
But you made an interesting point. You said the idea that we've never contracted anything in the past. And is it because we've been so diligent about this? Is it because we've always erred on the side of caution and have been? Or is it just sheer numbers that, maybe the prevalence of these STIs were not as rampant, and are they on the increase now?
Well, and maybe this is the tell. This is the moment. This is what I was thinking when we were talking about it, is this the moment where I'm like, okay, universe is telling me that maybe I shouldn't engage in this activity. Like, I'm feeling discomfort for a reason. And that's fine. I mean, I don't have to have sex. I'm fine with just seeing people as friends. Like, it's not important to me. I think the thing is that I'm just feeling uncomfortable sharing this.
So what do you think would make you feel more comfortable? How could you feel completely comfortable?
The only way is just to have a like vanilla, non-sex, non-kissing party and just hang out. So these two couples haven't met each other, so I think it's legitimate. Like it's
No, they're going to like each other. That's not a problem.
well, they're going to like each other, but I think it's okay to meet and in a vanilla way. We do all the time.
But
I mean, we had a party last night and it was vanilla.
yeah, but they weren't necessarily people in the lifestyle, although some of them were. But no, but the thing is, okay, so we say we're not going to have sexual activity, we're going to abstain from that, and that's fine. So it happens on this party. But what's the comfort level or course of action going forward? When do we go back into play, or do we say from now on, that's it, we're hanging up our costumes and we're done with the lifestyle and we're going to close our relationship?
When we were at the Taboo show, we were talking to someone that was talking about a STI passport. And you were saying that what if you did have like a bit of a polycule where you where everybody was tested regularly and was semi-exclusive, I guess, within that group. So I mean, but that's a big, I don't know, but I think for some people that's a big ask.
It's a big ask. Can you just tell us very quickly what a polycule is?
A polycule, well, there's different polycules, but it's a group of usually 4 or more people that have varying levels of sexual and emotional relationships with each other. So it may or may not be sexual, but typically it is. There's some sort of relationship. Not everyone has the same relationship with everybody else.
Right.
And they can be either closed or open.
Well, that's the thing, right? There is some level of exclusivity in the polycule. You said, okay, we are forming this kind of group, this unit, and as such, we will have certain, I guess, rights and responsibilities with each other. So in this one idea of the sexual passport, what we're saying is as a group, as individuals, we're going to go out and we're going to get tested and we're going to know that we are free of anything. And then we invite people in who have also been tested without any other outside variables so that they know. And it's kind of like putting everybody on the same rocket ship and we're not bringing any of these STIs with us into outer space. So everybody's been cleared before they come into it. And then we're in this closed polycule where everybody has that same level of testing. We're all on the same page there. And there's some level of trust that if we're going to go outside of that, we would let the others know and we would be tested again before coming back into the polycule.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Do you think that people would need to be closed all the time? Or would you have a certain protocol, like before an event, if you're coming to one of our events, everybody has to be tested. How long does it take? Let's say a week before, and then not have any additional activity within that week. Sort of like what we did when we had the party in COVID. Everybody got COVID tested and then stayed within their own bubble that had been tested.
Right. So that's exactly right. So it's exactly as we did it in COVID. So we did have our testing, and once we did the test, we stayed within our bubbles. There was no new introductions of any other variables. So we knew that the tests were still valid. And then when we came into our party, we had all been tested. We all knew that we're not bringing COVID into the party, and it worked quite well. Nobody brought in it. But, the question is really, what will be the protocol? What will be the etiquette if we do go outside that? When would we get tested on that? But again, it is not dissimilar to how we function in non-monogamy. That so much of it is about honesty, trust, and consent.
What do you think we should do in this particular situation where we have an invite Sunday today? The invite is for next Saturday, which is 7 days away. The people who we might see would have been in contact with people within less than 10 days from that. So there's no way that they could get tested and be cleared and it cover all, if 10 days is the day. So how, what do you think? What would you do? What is your...
Well, my idea is that we have an open conversation about it. That's what we always advocate for, right? So let's let them know about our concerns and our timelines, because we don't know. I mean, they were at this event. Maybe they didn't hook up with anybody in the last 2 or 3 days, and maybe they do have that 10-day window, and you can get testing results as soon as 2 days afterwards. Like, what we got to find out from them, when's the last time that they had contact with somebody.
Okay. And then would we ask if they're planning on getting tested?
And what our concerns are. Yeah. So, we'd like you to be tested before we get back together. Just say it like that. They're pretty responsible, reasonable people. And I think they would, we would consider that to be a kind of logical or reasonable request if they asked it of us.
No. Sorry.
Look at it from a very scientific point of view. And if we do go on, maybe we should do our fact checking, but let's see if it is really a 10-day kind of incubation period. So there's that 10 days, and then there's 2 days. Basically, you're looking at 12 days to find out if the person is good or not.
Yeah, so almost 2 weeks. So should I go online and look while we're, and then pause this?
Yeah.
Okay, pausing. Okay, Andre, I just did a quick Google search, Dr. Google, and here's what it says. So I asked it, what time does it take for symptoms of a sexually transmitted infection to appear after exposure? And it varies by type of STI.
Right.
So according to this, chlamydia, symptoms usually appear within 7 to 21 days, but it can take up to 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So that's 21 days. Gonorrhea, 1 to 14 days, but it can take up to 28 days. For genital herpes, symptoms usually appear within 2 to 12 days, but can take up to 12 days. So 2 weeks. HIV, symptoms usually appear within 2 to 4 weeks, but can take up to 3 months for an accurate result. Hepatitis A, 15 to 50 days. Hepatitis B, 8 to 22 weeks. Hepatitis C, 2 to 26 weeks. But wait a minute, I think we're vaccinated against ABC, are we not? Or is there one of them you can't be vaccinated on? I feel like there's one you can't be vaccinated. No, one of the hepatitis
B.
A, B, or C. Okay, we'll look that up. HPV, symptoms can appear within 1 month to 10 years, depending on the type. HPV is dormant. That's why we get HPV vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Syphilis, symptoms usually appear within 2 to 12 weeks, but can take up to 20 years. And trichomoniasis, 5 to 28 days. Some STIs may not cause any symptoms at all. To be 100% sure about your results, it is recommended to be tested after the end of the window period, even if symptoms did not show.
After the window.
Yeah, so if it's gonorrhea, for example, it's 14 days after. So, but it can take up to 28 days. So that's longer than 10 days.
What was one that was 20 years?
20,
So we got to be absent for 20 years to find out if we have it?
syphilis. 2 to 12 weeks, but can take up to 20 years.
So we could have syphilis and not have symptoms for 20 years.
Yeah.
Fuck. Dude, I'm never going swimming again.
How do you get syphilis?
Same way as,
All the other things?
Yeah.
But I guess the question would be is like, which of the most likely are you going to, how easily are they to contract? Well, genital herpes and the other herpes in your mouth are pretty easy to
I
contract.
think it's like 90% of the people have it or something.
Yeah. But I think the big ones people get like as a result of like
Gonorrhea, chlamydia,
gonorrhea and chlamydia.
and syphilis.
And so that's another point too I want to make is that another thing that I think, and I recently was speaking with some clients about STI testing. So we're in Canada, and I mean, I love being in Canada, and because you can ask for everything, although you do still have to ask for the entire thing because, you know, as we found out yesterday when we went, sometimes the doctor does not order the right thing.
Right.
That's why I think it's always good to go to, like, when it's our regular family doctor, this was the drop-in doctor, but when it's our regular family doctor, she knows that we want the throat, she knows we want the throat and the vag and the anal swab and like the whole thing, right? Whereas yesterday, he did not offer that. In fact, it was missing the vaginal one, which to me was like the most important.
Right.
Anyway,
Most obvious. Yeah, sure.
partially because I also get bacterial vaginosis. Anyways, I was talking to a client of STI testing because also, and this is the thing about gonorrhea, which is the thing that we were told that people had, was that they also received notice from someone that they had been in contact with that they had gonorrhea.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I think, where we found out about the kissing part, because they kissed this person and found out that, yes, you can contract it via kissing.
So you can get gonorrhea by kissing.
Oh.
It's scary.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's hard. So we love these people and it's hard not to kiss them, but I feel like it's also important to do it. Like if we do love them, and we do, then I think for our own sakes, but for theirs. But I don't want to tell them what they should do. I guess the thing is I share with them my own boundary. I guess that's how you,
yeah,
you're going to have to share it.
That's it, your own boundary, exactly. But you know, it's interesting. Just thinking about it. So if you can get it by kissing and we're not wearing condoms, could we, not wearing condoms for kissing, could we have sex with them with a condom but not kiss them? Or could we?
But then no oral.
Right, no oral. Yeah, but you know what's amazing also is like there's all these things going around, and since we've been in the lifestyle, I guess we get tested maybe 3 to 4 times at least a year.
Yeah.
And it's been 7 years. So we must have been tested at least 20 times. More than that.
Yeah.
And yet we've never contracted anything, which is amazing. Luckily, thank you, love gods. But it's amazing that we haven't, considering how easy it is, right? If we can do it by kissing, do it by oral, do it by intercourse. It's interesting that we've never contracted anything. So now, if we have never been, and we followed certain regimes and protocols and considerations, does that mean that our good habits will keep us safe?
If we still follow the same regimen, is it okay? Are we being
Overcautious?
Overcautious. I feel like I've become more cautious in my older age. These things are treatable, like you said, and at the beginning, but I also don't want to have to get something I don't have.
No.
Like I think part of the reason I get bacterial vaginosis on the regular, even though it's not a STI, so to speak, the imbalance can be caused by sex. I think once it's like one of those things like strep throat, once you have it, you get it over and over again. And so then like I hate that I have to get antibiotics like at least once a year to treat bacterial vaginosis. So it's like, so that's something I have to live with. Do I really want to be, I don't know if having gonorrhea once, for example, makes you more susceptible to it.
Right. So even though you might use condoms, just having different condoms, just the activity can trigger the VD?
BD. BV.
BV.
Not VD.
No, BV.
BV. It's a bacterial imbalance, as I understand it. And I know so it's a bacterial, but it can be, one of the doctors was telling me that it can be caused by friction. So yeah, if you have a condom on or different kinds of condoms or lubes or anything, like, it's still the same, even, after you have sex with somebody, peeing right away so you don't get a UTI, because it's another thing people get. So not an STI, but people typically get yeast infections, UTIs, and bacterial vaginosis, people who have vulvas.
So even practicing good, safe sex practices, even though we're using condoms, you could still trigger these things. It could still...
Why do we still have sex? Maybe we should just be mono.
Well, I'm wondering, let's talk mono, let's talk celibacy, because if we would only read these, public service announcement brochures, we might not ever be brave enough to venture into it.
Well, it's deciding like what's acceptable risk, and what's acceptable risk to me maybe is different now that I'm 52 than it was when I was 7 years ago.
Right. That is a good point. Yeah, as we get older, we do tend to become a little bit more cautious, right? We don't jump so quickly.
And also to be like and being 52, I am a little different than when I was 7 years ago. Maybe I was more excited about having sex more frequently with more partners, whereas now it's less important or necessary. Like, I'm perfectly happy to see them all and hang out in a vanilla way and go do something fun, like go bowling, have dinner together, play games. Like, I don't have to have sex with them to feel loved and comforted and warm about that situation.
Sure. But if you were, again, invited to participate in a closed polycule where, all of the most stringent measures were taken upon, would that change it? So if the chance of STI contraction was extremely low, would it make you want to continue this kind of lifestyle?
Well, would you do away with all the things like condoms altogether? I guess it depends on if people are fixed or not.
Well, that's an interesting point too, right? Because again, having had a vasectomy, or if you're postmenopausal, whatever it is, and it's not just a question of conception, how do we feel about it emotionally? Because some people, they find it extremely intimate to have intercourse without a condom, and therefore say, well, I'll have unbarriered sex with my primary or my people in my throuple, but I'm not going to have unbarriered sex with other people, even if there is no consideration of STI contraction or pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do that too, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. But I do like this idea of the sexual passport and really knowing what's on my scorecard. When was my last snapshot? What are the likelihoods of these things, and where am I into these green, amber, or red zone? Because while it is beautiful to have our vanilla friends or to see our play friends in vanilla ways, there's still something quite fantastic about that magical thing that we do, that activity that
yeah, it's close. And I do like kissing them. I think it's fair to, and I know that they'll respect my boundary, but I think they'd be disappointed. And maybe that's playing into what I'm feeling, my hesitation, or that they might not want to get together. Oh, that's silly. I feel like, but
you're concerned that they might feel disappointed if we say we're not DTF?
Yeah.
Well, in some ways, that's a valid thing because they know us through that activity, right? It's not as though we worked together for years and then developed this friendship. Our friendship was born out of that very consideration.
Well, yeah, we met them at a club, but we still see them in vanilla ways too. Like, we don't always have sex. We often have sex.
Most of the time.
I like having sex with you.
I like having sex with you too. 20 years, huh?
Did we solve this situation?
No, I don't think we did.
I still feel like I'm not comfortable. While I'm willing to accept a certain level of risk, I'm not. This is too close. So I think in terms of contraction from people that informed us that were at the same common party, I think we're probably good from that perspective. But it doesn't mean that something else wasn't contracted since then.
Right, exactly.
And that's what I'm concerned about. Because I think we were talking about before we started recording, I think that people have different levels of risk tolerance. And we actually, this is interesting. Because remember we talked about it with Ashley, your idea of this risk, your level of risk, right? And this is probably the risk level of risk acceptance, right? And I think, and maybe I'm generalizing, but I think when people are newer to the lifestyle, they may not be as aware of, what is a good level of testing, frequency, what the risks are, and that sort of thing. Now that I'm really generalizing because I say that, but I wonder though, sometimes if people who are newer may not be thinking that, right?
Well, I think it's almost like, my vocabulary of the terms like metamor or polycule. When I first came into it, I had no idea that those terms even existed. What was my knowledge about STI testing and protocol? It was not as well informed as it is now. And even now, there's still some misinformation, some misconceptions. So yeah, that's an interesting point. Are we as aware as we should be, young and?
When do you think we became more aware?
I think when I was about to say her name, but when somebody I was dating said that there was a possibility that something might have happened with one of her partners, and we all went. So then we had to all tell each other of our partners that our partner's partner may have had something, and we kind of all at the same time went into a lockdown, got tested, and found out. So kind of like similar to what this situation recently has been like.
But I feel like we were still testing before that because our reaction to that was of gratitude that they shared that with us. And I don't think we freaked. So there was that situation, another one. I think there's maybe 4 situations that have come up. Yes, 4. And we had to tell people maybe 3 or 4. Well, there was that one.
Yeah.
There was the group of people other people that we were seeing on the weekend. And then there was the one at the party. So it was at least 3. 3. It might have been 4.
I think 3. But anyway. But yeah, you were saying there's never been.
I feel like in all those situations where that's happened, I feel like we were comfortable and we had gratitude for it. and it didn't freak us out.
Right.
We just kind of went, thank you, and we're just going to go get tested and locked down. So to me, that would mean that the first time it happened when that partner, I think that was the first time when your partner told me that their partner had something. We must have been getting regularly tested before that, but not probably at the very beginning. Because I remember going to the clinic in Toronto before we started going to our family doctor, and then I said, "This is stupid. This is stupid. I don't want to. I don't want to keep going there. It was a pain in the ass to go there. You had to wait and la la la."
Yeah.
And so then I think we asked the family doctor.
But
anyways, it's not really super important. I'm just curious because it kind of speaks to that, like, when do people really get informed? And I think it's when people start reading, listening to things, talking to other people in the community, and, then realize it's something that's important to do. But I wouldn't guarantee that everybody's doing it because, like you said, people are secretive about it.
People, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, there's embarrassment, shame, whatever. They feel threatened if there's people going to know what their business is.
And access to testing too is different.
Sure. Yeah, and in where we're living, we have it paid through from our province insurance. But yeah, unfortunately, some people, they have to pay out of pocket, and then that makes it less accessible to them. But when you raise a very good, interesting point, what I really like and really appreciate is the way that it has been said to us in the past in such a matter-of-fact kind of way. And I'm grateful that they feel comfortable and also that they know that it's the right thing to do to make this sometimes difficult announcement, but they say it in a very matter-of-fact kind of way that this is something that may be unfolding and we need to collectively acknowledge this and then do the next best thing, do the right thing, which means testing and treatment if necessary. But it's said, again, in a way that promotes that openness. It's never said in a way of judgment or words, unfortunately, like dirty are never brought into it, right? Because, in the past, I've heard people say, oh, I'm clean, or, it implies, right, this kind of thing that you would be dirty or clean. Whereas, like, if you had a cold, we would never say, oh, my God, she's dirty because she has a flu.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful that we can announce it in a very adult, matter-of-fact kind of way. So it de-stigmatizes it, and we can just do it as a matter of fact. This is, unfortunately, one of the considerations in this type of lifestyling, right? But, even at that, people who are monogamous also, if they go out and they have an affair, are they even more likely to carry it because they might not feel so comfortable telling their doctor that they're having, only one partner is being tested or whatever. So are they just like out of fear, not looking at it and then unsuspectingly carrying it?
Well, and that's how some people have found out that their partner was cheating, because they contracted something and had symptoms, because sometimes some people have symptoms and sometimes people don't.
Exactly.
So you could catch it from somebody else and have the symptoms, but the person who gave it to you might not have the symptoms.
Right.
Be asymptomatic. But I was thinking that the person, when they told us, the person that had been at the party with us that found out that they had gonorrhea, let us know, and they were actually very happy that we told them that we were gracious, and they appreciated that. And I was like, well, what else would we be?
What else could we be? Unfortunately, we could be accusatory. We could be like, how could you have done this? And I mean, you never know what reaction you're going to get. Unfortunately, some people, they get scared. And when they are scared, they might act rather aggressively, right? They might think like, oh, shit, like, how could you have brought this to our party? Or how could you, and it becomes not so well received. And then that makes it, unfortunately, more difficult to ever talk about it in the future because you've had this negative reaction when you've introduced it. It was not well received, right? So we want to kind of really be mindful of that and just be able to accept it and look at it in a very matter-of-fact, clinical way.
I know what I was thinking is that it was easy for them to contact us because they got our contact information because we were all part of a party. But if you go to an event or club or something like that, you're not necessarily asking everybody you interact with for their phone number. So someone could get something.
Right.
They would have no way of finding out.
Well, that's an excellent point, because when I was looking into this about the incubation periods and whatever, and they were saying, you'd have to contact whoever you were with in the last 2 or 3 months. Well, if you're at a club or something, like you say, right, there's a lot of anonymous interaction there where you're not going to have the ability to contact these people and let them know. So where does that leave us?
in the same place we started in.
Yeah. Well, again, the same place that really makes me want to go into that fantasy bubble of having been tested and only bringing people in who have this kind of sexual passport and then feeling secure within that bubble. So then,
So next time we have a party, would you suggest as part of the invitation process that people have to be tested a week before and then be within their own tested group only within that time period?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. But then I think our research just showed us that maybe a week is not enough, right?
No. But a week before the party, they get tested.
Oh, yes. And then...
and then they'd have, or like 5 days, and then they'd get their results before the party.
Right. And obviously they'd have to remember that if they have any outside interaction, that snapshot of a test will be invalid. It's only as good as the last time you brought something new into it, right?
Would people come to the party if we put that in force?
Well, it's interesting because a while ago there was a party. You were in Toronto, I was in Montreal, and we did actually speak about that before the party. And we made it very clear exactly what was necessary, how the testing worked, how the windows would be, when it would be valid. And we had a very sober, matter-of-fact conversation in the email thread, but then before the actual party as well. We thanked everybody for being able to participate at this level with it. And I think everybody felt very secure that way. So it was good to have that open conversation. It's like many other conversations, right? Maybe it's kind of a little sticky or uncomfortable in the beginning because it's not so well formed. But once you say it after enough times, it becomes matter of fact. So it reminds me of when I was starting to date and talking about these. At first, I thought, well, if I bring up STI testing on a first date with somebody, are they going to think, oh my God, is this guy banging everybody or what kind of pervert is or whatever? And I had all these preconceived ideas about it. But then once I started doing it and I said, oh, by the way, I like to talk about STI testing and I get testing frequently, it became so matter of fact, so easy to bring it up in conversation. And I think my comfort level made it easier for them to talk about as well. So having these good conversations like this, I think is necessary, but I think it also, it invites people to do the right thing. And I think people do want to do that. They will, who doesn't want to protect themselves, right?
No, I know. But I think sometimes people are just not informed. So even when we're dating, like not just party situation, in regular dating life is something that we bring up right away. Yeah, so we say, and in fact, I was going to be getting together with somebody from my previous life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yes, my ex-boyfriend from university.
Too bad it's radio. You guys are missing my face. I'm like, huh? Making a Scooby-Doo face.
This
surprise.
Is free because we're just doing it from the car.
Well, okay, let's give all the surprises.
But I told him, like, if there's any chance that we might be intimate, and I didn't guarantee that was going to happen, but I told them that they had to be tested, even though they were married and in a supposed monogamous relationship, because I said, you don't necessarily know.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. I got to clarify. They are married in a monogamous relationship?
They were.
And you're having a date with them?
No. They were separated. But still, they are separated. Still, they're divorced now, I think, but they're in the process of getting divorced. But I wasn't sure if they had cheated on her or she had cheated on, I think there might have been some activity. And so I was like, if you want to get with this, you've got to get tested.
Because that is one of our boundaries.
That is one of our, that's not about, well, it's a personal boundary, but our agreement is that we protect our sexual health. And as such, we get regularly tested and we ask our partners to do the same. That's our agreement.
We protect our sexual health and the health of our partners.
And the health of our partners, yes. Yeah, that's part of our relationship agreement because that's based on our values. Because we have a values-based agreement. But a personal boundary, it might be that we don't have sex with somebody unless they're tested. Like that's the personal boundary. So they're connected, right? That's why, when you're developing your agreements with your partners, you have to consider first what your boundaries might be and how they might integrate into an agreement.
So if you have testing as part of your agreements, how would you feel if somebody were to ask to see your test results? Or should it just be my word is enough? Right? I mean, because if I ask to see your results, does that mean, well, I don't really trust you until I see the paper? Because so much about this is trust already. Because you could see my test results, and then I could go outside of it after the test result and invalidate those results.
Well,
So a lot of that is trust again.
I've heard of people who keep their tests on their phone. I tend to trust people if they tell me, but I mean, yeah, let's make it like not, it's not a matter of trust that you see the test and when they got it. Like, you don't have to make it an issue of trust. If somebody asks me that, I'm like, sure, I'll show you my last test if I could find it on my email. But you can decide that's also a personal boundary that you want people to trust you. But then the other person can decide, is that enough? Right? It's all about your own boundaries around things. So do you want to trust somebody if they say they've been tested and when they were tested and they were clear? Or do you want to see it? And then the person that you ask, if you say you want to see it, they could also say, I'm not comfortable, or I don't want to share that personal information with you. I want you to trust me. And then you can decide what you're going to do based on that boundary. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to see people's tests?
Not normally. No, I think that I want to trust them. And I think in the conversation, if it came up, I think I would look at their face or their response, and that might inform me. And I don't know how accurate it is, but if they seem rather forthcoming and very transparent, I think, well, then they're probably good. But if they seem evasive or kind of shifty or something, then I say, well, maybe they're not quite as up on their testing as they say they are. So I think my feelings will inform me that way, my intuition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So where does this leave us? What do we do?
I think that I personally, my comfort level is that, I do value my sexual health. And while I know things can be treated, I would feel more comfortable right now, given that they've had activity, to have a recent activity and their test was prior to that I would prefer to have a vanilla get together that does not involve sex or kissing.
Right.
And then not say to them, I don't want to say to anybody, because I think they can decide what to do with that, right? That's my personal boundary. They can decide if they want to get tested. But even if they got tested now, it wouldn't change the outcome if we're getting together next weekend, because that's 7 days away.
Right. But what about like married friend there? Are you comfortable seeing them, and how does it affect me? And then what about, I'm on the train, I'm flying home, whatever it is, and I happen to meet a stranger and we're wanting to kiss, or we kiss. I mean, then how does that play into it? So what will be our standard protocol going forward now? Are we going to go, like, to what degree?
Well, I think you share the information. Like if you met somebody randomly at the airport and you had a really good connection and you kissed them, then I think I would hope, because open communication is also part of our agreement, that you would share that information with me and we talk about it, and we talk about what we feel is an acceptable level of risk and what we're both comfortable with. I don't know.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about the airport scenario. So we have a really good interaction. We make this connection with the stranger and we want to kiss each other. You can feel it. There's no expectation that it's going to go any further than that. We're in the airport.
This did not happen, by the way.
No, this is not happening. This is just hypothetical. But I'm just playing at the scenario. So we're at the airport. I don't expect there's going to be any penetrative sex or oral sex, but we'd like to kiss. And do I then say, well, before we kiss, when were you last tested for STI? And the person would be like, what, dude? Like, back it up. Like, I didn't, who said anything like, whoa. Like, well, no, like part of my agreement is that we don't even kiss without finding out, and what do you even like handshakes? I mean, where were your hands before?
I feel like kissing, I think kissing is acceptable level of risk. Well, recently you did kiss somebody at a Halloween dance thing, and we don't know her history, but you asked me, I mean, not that you have to permission, but I was there, and you were like, is this okay? And I was fine with it. And I don't know, generally I feel like kissing is an acceptable level of risk. I know that. I
would say 95%, right? And I mean, we've kissed lots of people and nothing's ever happened. Knock on wood. That's great. I'm glad for that. But the science says that something like gonorrhea, for example, is communicable through some act as simple as kissing.
Yes, true.
So yeah, so what if it's 1 in 2 million? Is that an acceptable risk level, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we should know the risk percentage. And,
well, maybe that's something to look up. Maybe we can include it in the show notes if we do ever publish this.
But I mean, is it like playing roulette? So you say, well, it's 1 in 100. So, that seems like a pretty reasonable odd. But have you already kissed 99? And the next one, it's like, now you're just like, the odds are eventually you're going to get it.
I am searching it. How likely are you going to get? Can you get gonorrhea from kissing? Healthline.
Yeah, what's our sources, by the way?
Is it possible? It wasn't believed to be, but recent studies have shown that it's actually possible to contract oral gonorrhea from kissing. There's accumulating evidence that kissing might be a common mode of gonorrhea transmission, though just how common requires more research. There's no need to swear off smooching, though experts still aren't exactly sure how it transmits. Does the type of kiss matter? Possibly, based on the results, deep kissing with tongue, also known as French kissing, appears to pose the highest risk. What about sharing straws, eating utensils, and other items? You should be fine. There's no evidence that you can contract gonorrhea from sharing these objects with someone who has received diagnosis. That said, objects of the naughtier variety could do it. You can contract gonorrhea and other STIs from sharing sex toys with somebody. Is there anything you can do to reduce your risk for oral? Avoiding kissing is probably the only way to completely remove any risk for oral transmission. We know this, with limiting your number of kissing partners coming in at a close second. So data collected looked at the number of partners that men had in the last 3 months in 3 categories: kissing only partners, sex only partners, kissing with sex. So kissing only and kissing with sex were associated with throat gonorrhea. Having 4 or more kissing only or kissing with sex partners doubled the risk for throat gonorrhea. Having 4 or more kissing only or kissing with sex partners doubled the risk. So we're like super risky.
So 4, so we had like, what, 20 in the last one?
I don't know about 20, but we did kiss more than 4 people.
At the party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonorrhea is when...
I think also be fun, Tara, maybe that's fun, but what are some of the things people do?
Too.
What are some of the things that people do to kind of like, home remedies or whatever, wives' tale to protect themselves? So like, will they put Vaseline on their lips so they're not going to contract something?
Oh, how will you know? Sore throat, redness in the throat, swollen lymph nodes in the neck, fever. They can also have pain or burning. Okay. How is it diagnosed? Is it curable? Yes. Gonorrhea in the throat is harder to cure than genital or rectal infections. You should return to your health care provider for a test of cure 14 days after finishing treatment. I should tell my clients, they had it, but they didn't have it. Treated with antibiotics, having regular STI testing, including before and after every partner. Always use barrier protection like condoms or dental dams during oral and penetrative sex. Communicate openly with your partner. So that's that.
Right, testing with every new...
So kind of like what we said, but your risk is increased with 4 or more people.
And so 8 would double that and 16 would double that?
Yeah. Anyway, so I think,
So we're high risk. So is it better to have sex and not kiss people?
Maybe.
Have like barriered sex and not kiss people? Sorry, I don't kiss. It's too dangerous, but I'll bang you.
So it's not like Pretty Woman where she said it was because it's too personal. It's more of a STI thing.
Yes.
But that's interesting that throat gonorrhea is harder to treat.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if the healthcare providers are providing that information to the people that tested positive.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So would that impact how you might interact with that person? If they said they've been fully treated and cleared and everything, what would you feel about? Like the people from the party that both had it. We both interacted with them.
Yes.
And so would you interact with them at another party or have a date with them or?
Well, so I got 2 things there. One, they were aware enough to get tested.
Yeah.
Great. And also they had ease of communication. They told us in a very matter-of-fact, transparent way where it was at, what happened. So those 2 things bode well. And then if they said that they had followed the treatment and successfully completed the treatment,
got tested again,
and then they got tested again, I think those considerations would make me feel much more safe than
somebody
otherwise.
who hadn't. So would it make you safer than somebody who hadn't?
Well, without a doubt. Oh, somebody who never had. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, what's the chance of it being treated and being dormant or still contagious? So does treatment then automatically say that you are no longer potentially contagious? That's a big one to know. or can it remain dormant and still communicable?
Yeah.
What's the difference in contagious?
I think it's different. I don't know. Anyway, something to think about.
So where does this leave us? So we're out of the lifestyle now, right?
What do you think, people? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Should we be out of the lifestyle?
They'd be like,
Has this changed your feelings?
Thanks, Tina. Like, fuck,
Thanks, Tina. You guys suck.
I'm going to become a monk now. I've cut off my
I
dick.
think you got to be aware. And like you said, you can decide on if you're, the sex it, whether or not, what's your risk profile? Like, what do you want, a low, medium, or high risk? And so I think, by exposing yourself, even with regular testing, you're still exposing yourself, And so low or no would be chastity. Chastity? Is that the right word? Yeah. And then what would low be? Low would be like one partner or two partners that have been regular tested and being more exclusive. Maybe we're more medium risk. I wouldn't say we're high risk because we get tested, and I'd say the majority of people that we are with also get regularly tested and are aware of all these things.
Right.
So so it's just this, I don't think it means we're out of the lifestyle, but maybe we're just cautious.
Yeah. But it's interesting also, being partnered as opposed to being solo, is that the considerations that we have, it's not just, am I willing to take the chance on it, but how does my partner feel about this as well? So we have to be in alignment with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting hand signals from my producer here.
Well, that was a good chat.
Yeah.
So I guess we need to contact them and share our boundaries.
What do you want to say?
I'm going to say that like I said, I feel, right at this point, given that there was additional exposure to other people, I would feel more comfortable, or no, I don't know. No, I would feel more comfortable means that there's a possibility I could be convinced out of it. So I'd say I only want to meet in a vanilla way without kissing until, we're sure that, we're all past the thing. Maybe I don't want to turn it to them. I just want to say, so get in the right hand lane.
Right. But here's the deal. So now they agree to that, but then we say, well, let's, wait for this, blah, 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 and I'll come back in like 3 weeks, whatever. But in that 3 weeks, now they've kissed somebody else. Would they ever be cleared to be reintegrated?
Well, I think people don't have, some people do, and I'm sure we did it for a while. You might have back-to-back lifestyle events, but that particular group of people, they do not date outside their primary relationship. They only do stuff together. So unless they're going to go to another party or lifestyle event,
But which they do.
Which they sometimes do.
Like, we hadn't been to a party since we were last with them at a party, but they had been to several parties in that time.
Yes, but we had dated other people, but did we have sex with other people? I don't know. Anyway. And no judgment on the level of activity either.
But that means then that we can't interact with other people either. Right? We're holding space for it. We want our results to be still good. So that means I can't see my friend and kiss them. Yeah, so like no going on a date and kissing somebody. It's funny because I always say, well, it's what we do, right? Like we go out and we fuck people and say, well, it's what we do.
It's what we do.
It's like it's what we don't do.
Well, it can still be what we do, but I just think in this circumstance, normally I think I'm okay. I think in this particular circumstance, because of the more unknown situation of that situation, I think that it's a bit more risky to me because we can ask, but I'm guessing they did not ask people, right. And they didn't exchange information, so there'd be no way of them finding out necessarily,
right? But
if somebody did get something.
And the other couple too, because they'd also gone to a club and like had they, what was their level of interaction and who did they contact and what had their testing been?
Mm-hmm. I just don't feel comfortable at this moment. I can change my mind another time, but at this moment, for this particular situation, it's the level of risk is too high for me, and I don't feel comfortable.
And
And so for now, that's just for this weekend, and then leave it to people to decide how they're going to deal with that situation.
And so part of our agreement then is that by extension, I should also abstain from any interaction.
You know, we would love to actually hear what you would do in this situation. And I think for me personally, and I hope you would agree too, is that it doesn't feel comfortable in this particular situation. I'm not comfortable engaging sexually or kissing, and then that's it. Period, and stop. And then at some point we'll reassess based on the current situation. We're also getting our own results back. But you got yours back already, and you're fine. I haven't gotten mine, but I suspect mine is the same. And I haven't had any other partners since then. So I'm feeling pretty confident if my results are all negative that I'm good. I know them. I think they'll respect that.
Yeah, for sure. And
they'll still want to get together with us.
But yeah, I'd love to hear from our listeners what their thoughts, feelings, concerns are. And if anybody is from the CDC, let us know as well. We'd love to know your take on all of this. And
also let us know if you like these kinds of random, impromptu, hard to listen to conversations. Probably has some background noise, even though we have our fancy new microphone.
Oh, I wasn't talking about hard to listen to as far as the sound quality. I meant like the narrative being all over the place.
Oh, it's not fun.
No, the subject is fun. The subject is fun enough. No, I mean, can you follow our train of thought? Are we all over the place?
I got you. Well, sometimes we're all over the place, even when we're scripted.
So
so there's that too. Maybe that's part of our charm.
Could be.
But you can tell us.
It's real.
That. Anyway, thanks for listening. And
let's have those conversations.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Until next time.
If you want to have relationships that are secure, sexy, and satisfying, take advantage of our Black Friday deal on our Poly Newbies digital course. Only $27 until December 2nd, 2024. Thanks for listening to the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast with TNA. Don't forget to subscribe and give us some love on your favorite podcasting platform. You can check out the show notes for any of the links to the courses or information we talked about today. Thanks, and have a fantastic and sexy day.